All right, so today is a bit of quite a topic we have today. It's actually rather on the heavy side, and it's about some paid political commentators. So I just want to preface this by saying I am not even remotely close to a political channel. Okay, I don't discuss politics. That is not my forte. And if you want to ever watch politics, I would recommend going to some other channel that actually discusses this stuff. Okay, I'm more interested in this whole payout situation that's been going on. So I just want to preface this video by saying that. But anyways, so it turns out that quite a few political commentators, especially those on the right, well, they're more on the right-leaning side, were paid quite a hefty amount of money by two people, Lauren Chen and her husband, under the Tenet media. And these people were actually paid by Russia to spread Russian propaganda. So quite a time we live in today. So there's a lot to go over in this particular stuff. So there's stuff where people are questioning where money's coming from, this and that. And of course, some of the respective parties have responded to this. But before we get into it, let's look into a bit of the background of who we're talking about. So here we have, the founder of Tenet Media is, of course, Lauren Chen. So she is a political commentator. Unfortunately, the picture of her channel that I have right here was before she was terminated. She literally just got terminated, last week, Thursday? So just a few days ago. And of course, the Tenet Media was also done as well. So what I want to point to is where I wanted you to look at. So this is the Tenet Media website that I'm putting up on screen right now. And so you can see here that these are you have the big names. You have like Lauren Southern, you have Tim Pool and Dave Rubin. So these are all very big people in the political commentating space. So these are the people you'll probably see in the face. Tim Pool is very, very well known. Everyone knows about Tim Pool. He's basically everywhere. And so he runs Timcast. He has stuff like the Culture Wars and all that stuff. You'll see Lauren Southern speak in other places. And Dave Rubin has the Rubin Report, where he talks about various issues as well. So that's what we have here. And so initially, what was really suspicious about this whole ordeal is that you have a lot of people, under this media. And what you actually find out about this whole channel is that when you look at the viewership on this channel, before it was terminated, so courtesy of the Wayback Machine, we get an idea of who's really watching it. So they have almost 400k subs, and they get maybe 1k view per video. So in case you're a bit wondering, if you're not really familiar with how this works,
Rubin, bro, we were looking through this channel. Dave Rubin's videos are getting 700 views a video. 3,000 views. Yeah, it's embarrassing. 2.9 thousand views, 513 views, 1.4k views. Yeah.
Okay. Ideally, you want to get about maybe, let's say 10% of your viewership, 10% retainership about from your sub count, because generally speaking, some people will sub for the one time and they won't watch your videos again, or they'll come back and watch your videos much later on. But ideally, that's where a lot of your loyal viewers come from. So you have a 2 million channel. If you get 200k, you're doing very well for yourself, actually. I say you're doing about average. But if you get 200k per video, you're doing pretty good. So what I'm trying to tell y'all is that if you translate this is not exactly the best channel, at least not the best in terms of viewership. So that should already ring a couple of bells. And so one thing about Lauren Chen that, was highlighted in some other articles that I read, but I want to show you guys anyways, so she used to work for this, or she did some couple articles for this place called RT. Now, if we go to their About Us, it says here, with its international channel launched in 2005, RT is now a global TV news network providing current affairs coverage, breaking stories, and documentaries in 9 languages: English, Arabic, Spanish, French, German, Serbian, Chinese, Hindi, and Russian. And sister multimedia agency Ruptly that provides live streaming, video on demand, archive footage, and broadcast services. RT is available in Chinese on popular Chinese social media platforms Weibo, Bilibili, and Douyin, and is also present on social media networks in Hindi. RT is now available to more than 800 million TV viewers in more than 100 countries around the globe. Now, an interesting part about RT that, is mentioned is that here it actually says RT is an autonomous non-profit organization that is publicly financed from the budget of the Russian Federation. For more information, contact press at rttv.ru. So naturally, as we know, we have a couple of conflicts going on. So you have stuff in Ukraine that's going on where tensions with Russia is pretty high, especially between like the NATO and Russia. And so, long story short, there's been stuff like sanctions, and there's been stuff like sanctions that have gone on since the Ukraine war started. So naturally, since this is financed by the Russian Federation, this particular group has been disbanded from Canada, US, and some European countries because, of course, they don't side with the Ukraine. That's that in a nutshell. And so, if we actually go look, so I tried to look up some articles on here that Laura Chen had written. So here I'm going to pull up a few of them for you here. So this one says, the woke silence on Jussie Smollett's guilt is deafening. So this was written in roughly 2021. The next one is, America's white supremacy is a myth, and here's the proof. And the next one here says, how girl power played its part in Elizabeth Holmes's downfall. So here, so we already know these people are leaning more on the conservative side. So this is the stuff that Lauren Chen in particular, founder of Tenet Media, was writing for, the RT network. And now we need to go into the document that is in question, because it was actually a sealed indictment. Of course, it was unsealed not too long ago, which revealed many people who are working under here. So we're going to go to the document and highlight some key points here, because there's a lot to talk about in this article. So let's get into it. So here I have the document in question, the sealed indictment from the United States District Court of Southern District of New York. And it says here the case is United States of America versus Kostya and Lena. I could not pronounce those names for the life of me, so that's why I'm not going to present them here. And so it says in this document, the grand jury charges an introduction. RT, formerly known as Russia Today, is a state-controlled media outlet funded and directed by the government of Russia. After Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022, RT was sanctioned, dropped by distributors, and ultimately forced to cease formal operations in the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, and the European Union. In response, RT created, in the words of its editor-in-chief, an entire empire of covert projects designed to shape public opinion in Western audiences. One of RT's covert projects, as described herein, is its funding and direction of a Tennessee-based online content creation company, US Company One, which in this case has been confirmed to be Tenet Media. Over at least the past year, RT and its employees, including Kostya and Lena, the defendants, have deployed nearly $10 million laundered through a network of foreign shell entities to convert, fund, and direct US Company One. US Company One publishes English language videos on multiple social media accounts, including TikTok, Instagram, X, and YouTube. Using multiple fake personas, Lena edited, posted, and directed the posting by US Company One of hundreds of videos. Many of the videos published by US Company One contain commentary on events and issues in the United States, such as immigration, inflation, and other topics related to domestic foreign policy. While the views expressed in the video are not uniform, the subject matter and content of these videos are often consistent with the government of Russia's interest in amplifying U.S. domestic divisions in order to weaken U.S. opposition to core of government Russian interests, such as its ongoing war in Ukraine. So essentially, you have a media outlet that's literally being paid to not necessarily speak propaganda for Russia, but it definitely will pay people to talk about views that are in line with that whole ordeal. So say, for example, they want to, raise the housing here. Russia will be interested in raising U.S. housing, and that might help the opposition win against, in the two-party system. So that's roughly what that means. So they may not be specifically talking about Russia in particular, but they'll definitely be talking some points that Russia will be interested in. So, skipping this person's name, Founder 1 and Founder 2, which is confirmed to be Lauren Chen and her husband, also worked together to deceive two U.S. online commentators, Commentator 1 and Commentator 2, who respectively have over 2.4 million and 1.3 million YouTube subscribers. So this would be Tim Pool and Dave Rubin. Dave Rubin has about 2.45 million subscribers, and Tim Pool has like 1.31 or something like that. Founder 1 and Founder 2 contracted with Commentator 1 and Commentator 2 to produce videos using Commentator 1's and Commentator 2's own names and leveraging their existing audience for license and publication by U.S. Company 1. Founder 1 and Founder 2 worked together to mask U.S. Company 1's true source of funding, i.e. RT, by falsely portraying to Commentator 1 and Commentator 2 that US Company 1 was sponsored by a private investor named Edward Gregorian. In truth and in fact, Gregorian was a fictional persona. For example, during contract negotiations, Commentator 1 requested that Founder 1 provide a profile or article on Edward Gregorian. In response, Founder 1 sent Commentator 1 a one-page profile provided to Founder 1 by another fictional persona purporting to represent Edward Gregorian, falsely describing Edward Gregorian as an accomplished finance professional who had held various positions in Brussels and France and a multinational bank, Bank One, including Director of Private Banking Division and Wealth Management. After receiving the fictitious profile, Commentator 1 agreed to work with US Company 1 and produced approximately 130 videos that were published on US Company 1's platform. So we see here we have a bit of a con artist going on, where they had, someone who had a fake profile and someone who had been to Brussels and this place and that. So essentially what would happen is that this person would be sent, okay, I want you to work for me. So this is exactly who we're working with. This is who it is. This person does finance and this and that. And so you get a basic profile of what's going on. So that's what happened here. However, I want to direct to a different part of the article that you guys are going to quite find interesting. So here I have here on or about February 15th, 2024, Asfan Sesfia as Helena Shudra shared with US Company 1 a video of a well-known US political commentator visiting a grocery store in Russia. Person posted the video in the producer Discord channel later that day. Producer 1 privately messaged Founder 2 on Discord, they want me to post this. And referencing the video that had posted, but it just feels like overt shilling, Founder 2 replied that Founder 1 thinks we should put it out there. Producer 1 acquiesced, responding, I'll put it out tomorrow. So seeing here the type of content that wanted to be produced. So this producer in question said this feels like overt shilling. So it feels like this is too much. I'm too much in the favor. And then eventually they ended up putting it out anyways. So interesting enough, you have a producer who's rather suspicious, but regardless, still the video ended up still being made. So I'll say what you will about that. All right. So now another part is Founder 2 also used the investor Discord channel to, among other things, submit US Company 1's invoices to Persona 1 and to press for payment of those invoices. For example, on or about September 11th, 2023, at approximately 8:07 Central Time, Founder 2 wrote in the investor Discord channel, today marks 2 weeks since I submitted the invoice for August. Any idea for the delay? We are signing the large contracts and need to be certain we will get the funding to pay these people. Persona 1 did not immediately respond. While awaiting a reply from Persona 1, Founder 1 searched for the then current time in Moscow, specifically at approximately 8:50 p.m. Central Time on or about September 11th, 2023. Founder 1 searched on Google time in Moscow. The time was, in fact, approximately 4:50 a.m. in Moscow. Approximately 3 days later, on or about September 14th, 2023, Founder 1 followed up in the investor Discord channel, writing, hey, at Persona 1, just wanted to follow up and see if your finance department has any update on the transfers. So, like I said earlier, just because this particular people have been indicted, doesn't mean that the other people in here are not being investigated at this very moment. So, as it is right now, as you can see here, so Founder 1, which could be Lauren Chen or her husband, have been referred to be searching what time it is in Moscow, and in Discord chats like, when could this be followed up on for the finance, so the finance department can, get their stuff and get the funding and to, pay the people that they wanted to pay. So a lot to unpack in this particular article. So let's talk a little bit about it. Actually, no, before we talk about it, let's look at some responses. So here I have a response from Lauren Southern, who is one of the people who was under the Tenet Media. And so here she says, I hope you all can appreciate why I've taken my time to make a statement. What has happened with the DOJ indictment and Tenet Media is obviously a serious matter. I'm treating it as such. A few short facts. I am not accused of any crimes, and the allegations I've read about in the indictment were unknown to me. I believe I have done nothing wrong. I always put significant effort into making original and thoughtful videos. My contract gave me full editorial control of all my content. As for the speculation about my compensation mirroring other public numbers, this is simply not true. I also understand that CNN reported Lauren Southern is actually the stage name of Lauren Chen. this is incorrect as well. We are two separate people. The one thing I will say that generally applies no matter the situation or your politics is that I would highly recommend patience with conclusions until more information is available. I appreciate all those who are approaching the story with temperance. I will not be commentating further on this matter at this point in time. So, like I was saying earlier, I really want to hammer this home. The people in question haven't been really formally, to at least as of making this video, have not been charged with anything. Yes, their YouTube channel may be taken down, but that's because sometimes if YouTube sees you as a problem on the platform, they will take you down immediately. So if you are literally like suspected in this case of like coordinating with Russia, YouTube's going to say your channel is getting taken down. Okay. Until otherwise stated. Just want to point that out there. So now Dave Rubin also responded to this, and he said, statement on the DOJ indictment, these allegations clearly showed that I and other commentators were the victims of this scheme. I knew absolutely nothing about any of this fraudulent activity, period. People of the internet was a silly show covering viral videos which ended 4 months ago. The DOJ has never contacted me regarding this matter, and I have no intention to comment further. This screenshot directly from the indictment speaks for itself. And of course, here's a bit of a response from Tim Pool about the whole situation as well.
And we were preparing to engage in sponsorships, and they were getting hundreds of thousands of views per episode. And we decided to license it out because Lauren contacted us and was saying, we'd love to license something from you. And I said, well, we don't need to do that. We're an independent company. We have our own members and sponsorships. And then it took quite a while, but long story short, we agreed to a non-exclusive broadcast license, which meant that we own the show. So I barely even talked to Lauren. And it's kind of crazy. I've known her for a long time. So when she said that she was launching a company, she had investors. I'm like, okay. I mean, I hear that 50 times a year. And in the podcast space, we just heard that I think Travis Kelce's getting a $100 million contract. So these numbers that's where they're at. I think people don't realize how big the podcasting space is and the revenue that you generate from sponsorships and membership. And for all I knew, this was, Lauren Chang, she works the Blaze. She wanted to start a company. She found investors. That was seemingly the gist of it. We only ever took money from an American corporation. The amount of money that we were offered for the show was around market value for offers we had already received. And so it was just like, cool, I know Lauren, sure, whatever. And then you got Benny and Dave and Matt Christensen and Taylor Hansen, who I know them all. And I'm like, yeah, this seems fine, whatever. And the crazy thing is, assuming all this stuff is true, I'm like, man, this sucks. We didn't need the deal. The deal didn't do anything for us. It was just, sure, I guess. And the revenue that we were paid through the licensing deal was inconsequential to my lifestyle, to the bottom line of the company, and we've actually never done anything with it. I would say, the overwhelming majority of the money is just not gone anywhere. And then, we have people tweeting at me like, give the money back or whatever it is.
I want to say the difference between Joe Rogan getting paid, getting his Spotify exclusive, or Travis Kelce in this case getting deals, that these are people who are rather, one's, an NFL champion, and the other one is probably arguably, he's the biggest podcaster in the world. So, comparing that to someone like Tim Pool, where his influence is not even remotely that big, is kind of, it's a little bit of a cap in that aspect. And let me just say this real quickly. When it comes to stuff like sponsorships, depending on how big you are is how much you can leverage your negotiation. So say I'm at a 1 million view channel, and I don't know, what's a good one? Maybe Manscaped wants to sponsor me. From what I've heard, okay, I don't have any sponsors, so this is what I've heard from other channels. And if there's anyone who gets sponsorships, do tell, or do let me know in the comments or whatever. And so what I want to mention is that sometimes you may get up to from what I've heard, you get 8,000 to 12,000. And if you specialize in a particular field, you may be able to negotiate up to, if you're lucky, sometimes maybe 20 to 30K. And mind you, these are people who are getting roughly 1 million views per video. So these are not small channels by any means. I mean, someone who gets 100K is not going to get even close. They may get 1K from a sponsorship. It's because it's all about, when it comes to a company, it's what's in their best interest to get, this stuff out there. So I just want to point that out there. And before we actually wrap up this video, I want to point your attention to this little little document about something called the Good Old USA Project. And this is where it actually highlights what Russia was intending to do when it came to spreading its own, propaganda into the US market and such. So I believe it's actually a pretty important read because in a way it kind of ties everything together in a little tight package. So let's look at it. So the current international environment is known for, and first and foremost, severe hostility of the US towards Russia. The USA has been trying to maintain the global leadership by strategically defeating Russia. This desire shapes the financial investment, weapon supply, and efforts to keep the conflict in Ukraine going. In the meantime, the key question of the US domestic policy remains the same. How justified are these efforts? The further we go, the more politicians state that the US should target their efforts towards addressing its domestic issues instead of wasting money in Ukraine and other problem regions. So, goals and objectives. So, 2.1 goal: to secure victory of a U.S. political party A candidate, candidate A, or one of his current internal party opponents at the U.S. presidential elections to be held in November of 2024. So, some other objectives were to increase the percentage of Americans who believe that the U.S. has been doing way too much to support Ukraine to 51%, to increase the percentage of Americans who believe that the war is to be ended as soon as possible, even at the cost of territorial concessions on the parts of Ukraine to 53%, to bring candidate B confidence rating down to the minimum level of 29%. So some target audiences, we have residents of swing states whose voting results impact the outcomes of the elections more than other states. In 2024, such states, according to the New York Times and Siena College, are Nevada, Georgia, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Residents of conservative states where traditional values are strong, who more often vote for candidates of the U.S. political party A, Alabama, Kansas, Texas, Wyoming, Louisiana, etc., U.S. citizens of Hispanic descent, American Jews, community of American gamers, users of Reddit, and image boards such as 4chan. So, as you can see here, this is a very, well, as the document says, this is a very particular way that they want to spread, Russian ideology, but Russian ideas throughout the U.S. population, especially when it comes to the Ukraine conflict. As you know, that's a very, controversial subject in of itself, depending on who you ask. Some people are a bit more affected, some people are less affected. But the idea here is that you have a lot of people who are, affected by this, and some people have their opinions. And in some cases, if you put in a mouthpiece for a particular side, it might get people to sway in on one another. Propaganda has been around for the longest time. So, if I pull up propaganda posters from way back when, you'll see what the ideology from some people were. And it works, generally speaking, so this is why I can see why this will be used. So, for example, using a political streamer who is not a free journalist, but a independent journalist who does their own independent investigations, and they turn out to be a mouthpiece for, a particular opponent. Guess what? People are more inclined to trust more independent sources, and so, it has a whole trickle effect. But anyways, I don't want to explain that too much, but that's essentially a summary of exactly what this stuff is in particular. So what is there really to say about all this? I'm just going to say this much. When it comes to money, okay, even if everyone has 100% good intentions, you should always be looking at where your money is coming from. Because I was listening to Tim Pool's response. He's like, oh, Lauren's been a good friend of mine, this and that. And so, I want to do this and that, and you can get this amount of money. But it's just like, the fact that you didn't do any further research is already kind of off to me. Same goes for each of these other commentators. It's very suspicious. Now, while I can't accuse them of anything because there's no been investigations, all I can say is this much. There is no chance that you do not know where your money's coming from. So, unless you are literally being rug pulled or something. But even in a rug pull, you can suspect something is off and to do your research. So, it's kind of like, is there really any victims? And naturally speaking, mind you, every time there's something that's this big, no one's ever going to admit to anything. There's always going to be a denial. There's always going to be oh, please, or there's going to be no statement at all. So what I'd recommend is that, always be wary of where you're getting your stuff from. And, even especially your commentators, who knows, maybe your commentators could be bought too. So, yeah. So as it is right now, we're going to have to wait for more stuff to come out. But as it is right now, this is actually pretty big because, it is election time, or it's getting close to election time in America. And so a lot of people are trying to come out, with their stuff. I mean, there's the recent stuff with Trump and his shooting. There was people going after Kamala Harris for different stuff. So there's a lot of different, angles coming out because, people just want their candidate to win, and they will do whatever it takes to get them to win. So whether it's paying a political commentator or paying people to spread propaganda, it is what it is. So anyways, yeah, so that's a pretty intense case. I will be following this case very closely if anything else comes out. But that's basically it for this video. So if you enjoy this type of content and you do enjoy this type of deep dive, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and follow my source down in the description below. Leave a comment if you want to. Leave a dislike if you want to. Doesn't matter to me, but I am out.